Our guest, the first hour of the program, is Randy McClement, running for mayor, Republican candidate. And Randy, let's jump into some of the other initiatives that you'd want to take on if elected as mayor.
Sure. I believe that we need to be prepared for what's going to happen, come down the line with Fort Detrick. We got, 3,000 people coming in here. Support services for those 3,000 people are going to be necessary. It's a great opportunity for us. Like the fact that Monocacy Boulevard has finally got the shovel dug, the hole dug in the ground. We need to take advantage of that. We need to talk more to the companies that deal with Fort Detrick, the medical tech companies, government contractors. I don't think we reach out to them enough. I don't think we equate that business with our area. What federal government has kept us somewhat recession-proof up here. We're not as hit as bad as the other parts of the country.
Absolutely.
And we need to take advantage of everything we can with that. We're close enough to them, and we should reach out. I don't think we do a good enough job for that. I would like to try to do and encourage our economic development.
And what would you do? I mean, you got the Golden Mile out here. You've got FSK Mall. I mean, it's okay, but it's not going gangbusters. You've got some businesses that have closed out there. I mean,
right. I believe that the mall is a perfect setup for the support for Fort Detrick. I'll be honest. I'm going from what I remember hearing. I assume the current plan was to have the mall an open air mall with office buildings up on top.
I think that's the most current one. One before that was to have apartments and all the other kind of stuff.
Right.
Well, and, a lot of things come around, but the style that's popular now in terms of the consumer is really, if you remember, the first one is the 7th Street shopping center model.
That's been the most one of the successful malls ever.
So, and if you go out to by 85 with the Westview Promenade, which is extremely successful out there.
And the Vista, the ones down here on 40, the guy that's just redone the old mall and turned it into the Vistas, he's done a heck of a job.
So, part of it is the mall's got to kind of recreate
turn over every
themselves.
10 years.
Right. Yep.
But we need to.
They'll be popular again one day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think we need to capitalize on that property. We need to work with the owners of the property to say, look, we got the opportunity to bring, the Martin Mariettas, the CSDs out here, people that can bring good, high-paying jobs that will support Fort Detrick. I know there's a concern with that a lot, too, because the residential aspect didn't fly because of the 100-year floodplain back there. They had a problem.
Well, I can't believe that anybody would be that stupid not to know. First of all, when they did the flood control project downtown, water's got to go somewhere. And if nobody was smart enough to figure out, once you put it in the culverts downtown, it's just going to keep going further and further out, and it goes to Fredericktown Mall and the Corps of Engineers.
Let me ask you about this. How you feel about, they always kick it around. And I'm sure Anita's got her opinion. I've got my opinion.
Me and have an opinion?
Downtown hotel. Are you for it, against it? And then how are you for it?
Absolutely for it.
Okay.
Where are you going to put it?
Where I'd like to put it, I would like to put it where the post office is. I look at the post office as not a tax-paying entity. We've got to find some place. I think the post office currently has a distribution center off at Tilco.
Correct.
I would try to work with the post office to see if we can move their facilities out there. We still have the 7th Street post office for a downtown drop-off. I believe that that's a perfect location for the fact that it's convenient to the creek, which is going to be expanded, get access from there. I'll give you the best example. I was youth director of my church. I go to Calvary United Methodist, and we would always go down to Ocean City for this big youth retreat. And the people who did that were trying to find a way to get that retreat up on our area because I'm United Methodist, most of our congregation, or the area, is from Paw Paw, West Virginia to Baltimore. Well, they want to try to get something in between.
I've been to Paw Paw.
Yeah, I have been there too.
I was probably there for different reasons.
I don't know. I was there for.
We can talk
I was there
about
for
that
church
on
reasons.
another
Sorry.
show, Blaine.
Anybody went to Frostburg knows what I'm talking about.
I know. That's where my daughter went.
And my son. But he never went there, I'm sure.
Those are the kind of things we can reach out to. Those kind of events that we don't look for. As president of tourism, I see all kinds of stuff that we could bring into here.
Now, is it completely private? Is it private, public, or is it something like we have up there that's even more public? Private, like we have up there at with Cass Taylor's Dream, Rocky Gap.
Rocky Gap. I've already spoken with local business people. I've spoken with the Polanda companies and asked them. They're the ones that have good background on this, and they just flat out told me there is no way that any individual company can come in and build a hotel on their own.
Well, let me tell you something. I appreciate that right there, because I was going to say that anybody that wants to do this better talk to Pete Plumondon Jr. And Jim Plumondon, and even get Randy Cohen involved, who has the Hampton and Suites on Possumtown Pike, because they Randy wanted to put one downtown, but there's some major obstacles to overcome.
And you and I had kind of agreed that we thought that any local convention center was really going to be out near the Hampton Inn area, because that's just makes sense.
But they're the players you got to talk to. I mean, they know the business, and if there was money to be made, they'd already be moving forward.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think the city can do things that would have enhanced the city as well as help the hotels come in, like parking. We always need parking. I would look to find some place to put more parking that could be somewhat dedicated to the hotel.
But wait a minute. I mean, most hotels that I've stayed in, I mean, they have parking on site.
Right.
I mean, they take care of their own parking.
But
I mean, I don't want to have to drag my suitcase, schlep it down A Street to get to the hotel to check in.
That's why I like the post office, because if you look at the post office property, there's a lot of little spots that the post office own that no one remembers. Right behind Jim's Florist, that whole parking lot belongs to the post office. You have built-in parking if you take out the post office building. Right across the street is a parking facility. I mean, that will help the brain. But the problem is that there's not going to be enough. If you're talking about bringing in a convention center,
there won't be enough.
But you also have the Deck 6 that's going to go up right behind tourism. The new one that's being built right in front of the Delaplane. They're within reasonable walking distance of that.
But that's my point. People do not want to go to a hotel and then have to walk someplace to take their car.
Well, and in the convention center, again, hopefully that if this, I think all this stuff is wonderful, but hopefully it is based on simple business principles of supply and demand.
Right.
And that's what concerns me, because there's certain people that I think want to will it. In other words, you know what I'm talking about, Castero with Rocky Gap.
Well, that's what happened to Rocky Gap, and I love Rocky Gap.
He wanted it so bad that he was willing.
Whenever the speaker wants to send me there to do windows, I'm there. But I mean, that's the one thing it took us the speaker years to get it through. And that little sucker sits out there, and until we can get slots out there, I mean, we're just gasping. Just gasping.
But that's why I went to the Plumondons and said, is it reasonable? And they said, absolutely. It's just it's not feasible monetarily to do it ourselves.
But government cannot go ahead and build it and then say we're going to get Blaine to come run it or buy into it.
And that's what I mean.
There's got to be deep pockets in there from the private sector. Government may be able to tweak a little bit. Right. But it cannot be government's nickel, because we got Rocky Gap to show for it. And we got a Jack Nicklaus golf course sitting out there.
I agree wholeheartedly.
It's just a tragedy.
Let's talk a little bit about the West End, because let's take a break. We'll come back and talk a little bit about that, then let you wrap up. Talking with Republican candidate Randy McClement, running for mayor. Again, if you have missed this interview, you can